If you're over 60 and feeling drained, your bedroom performance isn't as strong as before, and you're worried your prime years are gone, I need you to stop and listen closely. What your doctor won't tell you is that at least 5 of the healthy choices they recommend you eat every day are secretly weakening your circulation and sabotaging your energy. I'm Dr. Sarah, and in my 25 years of practice, I've discovered something that challenges everything the medical establishment tells you. Make sure you're subscribed, because they are trying to silence doctors like me who share this. In this video, I will expose the 5 foods quietly destroying your vitality and reveal 3 powerhouse nuts, backed by buried clinical studies, that can help you reclaim your strength. You see, the medical industry has known for years that after age 60, your body processes these foods differently, triggering inflammation that blocks your recovery. But there's no profit in that simple truth. And wait until you see the one offender hiding in 92 of American kitchens right now. Let's get started. The first truth they're hiding from you is about whole grain bread. Yes, the same heart-healthy whole grains your cardiologist probably told you to eat more of. Here's what happens in your body after 60 that they don't want you to know. When you eat that morning toast, your aging digestive system can't process the inflammatory compounds the way it did at 30. These compounds trigger what I call circulation shutdown, microscopic inflammation that clogs the very pathways your body needs for energy and performance. I've seen this destroy the confidence of countless men who thought they were doing everything right. Let me tell you about Robert, a 62-year-old retired firefighter from Pennsylvania. For 30 years, he'd put his life on the line for others. Married to Helen for 42 years, grandfather of 5, this was a man who'd coached Little League Baseball and never backed down from anything. But when he came to my office 6 months ago, I could see the strain this was putting on his marriage. "Doc," he said, his voice breaking. "Helen and I used to be so close. Now she's started sleeping in the guest room, and I can see the worry in her eyes when she looks at me. I want to be with my wife, but my body just doesn't respond anymore." For 2 years, Robert had been bounced between specialists. His cardiologist said it's just your age and prescribed expensive medications. The urologist ran 3 worth of tests and suggested invasive procedures. His family doctor just shrugged and said, "Welcome to your 70s. Each visit cost him hundreds and left him feeling more hopeless. What broke my heart was hearing how this affected his daily life. He couldn't climb stairs without getting winded. He'd given up his morning walks because he felt too drained. He avoided social gatherings because he was embarrassed about his low energy. Helen had started making concerned phone calls to their adult children, worried about her husband's sudden decline. That's when I discovered Robert was eating whole grain toast every morning, just like his doctor recommended. What Robert didn't know was that after 60, your body produces 40 less of the enzymes needed to properly break down these grains. Instead of providing energy, they were creating inflammation that was literally choking off his circulation. But here's where the story gets interesting. I introduced Robert to 3 specific nuts, not as snacks, but as targeted nutrition to restore what his body had lost. Within the first week, he noticed he was waking up more refreshed. By week 3, his morning energy had returned in a way that shocked both him and Helen. At his 6-week follow-up, Robert told me something that stayed with me. Helen came to me last night and said she felt like she had her husband back, not just physically, but the spark in my eyes, the confidence in how I carry myself. She said it's like someone turned a light back on inside me. I checked in with Robert 3 months later. Not only had his circulation and energy maintained, but he'd returned to his morning walks, rejoined his men's group at church, and even started a small woodworking hobby in his garage. Helen told me privately, "It's not just about the bedroom, doctor. It's about having my partner back, the man who faces life head-on." This transformation didn't happen because of some miracle drug. It happened because we stopped poisoning his system with inflammatory foods and started feeding it what it actually needed to function. The second hidden saboteur is even more shocking. Low-fat dairy products. The very foods the American Heart Association has promoted for decades are quietly destroying your hormone production. Here's the mechanism they hope you never understand. Your body needs cholesterol to produce testosterone. But the processing that removes fat from dairy also strips away the molecular building blocks your aging hormone system desperately needs. It's like trying to build a house while someone keeps stealing your bricks. I learned this lesson with Frank, a 68-year-old former accountant from Ohio. This was a meticulous man who'd balanced books for 45 years, widowed 3 years ago, and had found the courage to start dating again at 70. But when he came to see me, that courage was fading fast. "I met this wonderful woman, Sarah," he told me, using a name that wasn't his date's to protect her privacy. "She's kind, intelligent, and we have so much in common. But I'm terrified that when things become intimate, I won't be able to perform." It's happened twice now, and I can see the confusion in her eyes. Frank had been following his doctor's advice religiously. Low-fat yogurt for breakfast, skim milk in his coffee, reduced fat cheese on his salads. He thought he was protecting his heart, but he was unknowingly castrating his hormone production. The pharmaceutical industry knows this connection exists. Internal documents I've seen show they've known since the early 2000s that the low-fat dietary recommendations were creating a secondary market for hormone replacement and erectile dysfunction medications. It's not an accident, it's a business model. Here's what the research they don't publicize shows. Men who consume full-fat dairy in moderation have testosterone levels 1,520 higher than those following low-fat diets. But instead of sharing this information, they'd rather sell you expensive treatments for the problems their dietary advice created. Frank's transformation began when we replaced his low-fat dairy with something far more powerful, Brazil nuts. Just 2 of these selenium-rich powerhouses each morning began restoring his natural hormone production. The change wasn't immediate, but it was profound. By month 2, Frank reported not just improved physical function, but a return of that masculine confidence that had defined him for decades. His relationship with Sarah deepened, and 6 months later, he called to tell me they were engaged. "I feel like myself again," he said. "Not trying to be 30, just fully alive at 70. Before I reveal the third saboteur, I need to know how many of these medical lies have you fallen for? Type your number in the comments. And if this is opening your eyes to how we've been deceived, smash that like button so more men can discover what the medical establishment doesn't want them to know. The third destructive food hiding in your kitchen will shock you. Vegetable oils. Canola, soybean, corn oil, the cooking oils your doctor probably told you were healthy alternatives to butter. This might be the most devastating lie of all. These industrially processed oils become toxic when heated, creating compounds that directly attack your cellular energy production. At 60, your cells are already working harder to maintain basic functions. These oils are like throwing sand in the gears of an already stressed engine. But here's the conspiracy that truly infuriates me. The American Heart Association receives millions in funding from the companies that produce these oils. Their dietary guidelines aren't based on your health, they're based on corporate profits. I've seen the internal communications. They know these oils contribute to inflammation, but the money keeps flowing. Charles was a 72-year-old retired teacher from Texas, married to Margaret for 48 years. He loved woodworking in his garage and had always been the steady, reliable cornerstone of his family. But when inflammation from these toxic oils began destroying his circulation, everything changed. "I used to be the guy everyone came to for help," Charles told me, tears in his eyes. "Now I can barely help myself. Margaret has to open jars for me. Our grandson asked why Grandpa seems so tired all the time. I feel like I'm disappearing." The cruelest part was that Charles was cooking with these oils because he thought he was protecting his health. Every time he prepared a meal, he was unknowingly poisoning his own energy systems. His inflammation markers were through the roof, his circulation was compromised, and his natural vitality was being systematically destroyed. When I introduced Charles to walnuts, nature's most potent circulation restorers, the change was remarkable. These aren't just nuts, they're loaded with l'arginine, an amino acid that helps produce nitric oxide, the natural gas that relaxes your blood vessels and restores healthy blood flow. Here's what happens in your body. At 30, your system produces plenty of nitric oxide naturally. But after 60, production drops dramatically. Walnuts help restore that natural function, keeping your vessels open, flexible, and responsive. They also contain omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammation and improve cardiovascular health. Within 3 weeks of adding a handful of walnuts each evening, Charles was waking up with better morning erections, feeling sharper throughout the day, and had more stamina for his woodworking projects. Margaret noticed he was more present, more engaged, more like the man she'd married. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you combine these 3 nuts, walnuts, pistachios, and Brazil nuts, something extraordinary happens. They don't just work individually, they amplify each other's effects in a way that researchers are calling nutritional synergy. Let me tell you about Dan, a 71-year-old from California, who had tried each nut separately over the years without much consistency. He'd snack on pistachios for a while, then forget about them. A few months later, he'd read about walnuts and try those. It was always hit or miss. "Doc, I've tried all this stuff, but I don't feel different," he told me when he first came in. So I asked him to try something different, not just to eat the nuts, but to commit to all 3 together every single day for 21 days. What happened after those 3 weeks was incredible. Dan came back and said, "I don't know what's going on, but I've got more energy in the morning. I feel lighter. And my wife noticed I'm more present." That last word stuck with me. Presence. Because that's what this combination gives you. Not just physical improvements, but a renewed sense of being fully alive in your body again. The walnut supports blood flow, opening the pathways that keep your heart, brain, and erection strong. The pistachio builds on that foundation, and here's something that will surprise you. A clinical study in Turkey found that men who consumed pistachios daily experienced a 50 improvement in erectile function scores in just 3 weeks. No medications, no tricks, just real food with real impact. The Brazil nuts provide the selenium your body needs to produce testosterone naturally. Just one Brazil nut contains more selenium than most men get in an entire week. This mineral is so crucial for hormone production, yet 90 of American men are deficient. But the medical establishment doesn't want you to know about this synergy. There's no patent on walnuts, no prescription pad for pistachios, no insurance billing code for Brazil nuts. They can't monetize your health when the solution grows on trees. I want to hear from you right now. In the comments below, tell me which industry conspiracy shocked you most. The whole grain deception? The low-fat dairy scam? The vegetable oil cover-up? I personally respond to comments because this community is fighting back against medical tyranny together. Now, here's the crucial part. They really don't want you to understand. The mistake that sabotages 90 of men isn't about the foods they eat, it's about the mindset they accept. I remember talking to Bill, a 69-year-old retired contractor. He was sharp, active, and still deeply in love with his wife. But something felt off. "I just don't feel like myself," he told me. "My energy isn't there. I'm not as interested in intimacy. It's like my body is slowing down even though I'm trying to fight it." Then, he said something that broke my heart. I just figured this was my new normal. That resignation, that quiet surrender to decline is the biggest threat to your vitality. Not age itself, but the assumption that age means giving up. It doesn't. Not if you understand what your body actually needs. When Bill started eating just one Brazil nut each morning, a handful of pistachios at lunch, and walnuts in the evening, things began to change. Slowly at first, better mood, less brain fog, more drive. But by the end of the first month, he noticed something profound. His libido was back. Not forced, not artificial, but natural, like his body had been waiting for permission to feel like a man again. The beauty of this approach is its simplicity. You don't need handfuls of supplements. You don't need complex meal plans. You need 3 specific nuts, consumed at strategic times, working together to restore what time and bad medical advice have taken away. Here's your exact daily protocol, and I want you to screenshot this because it's the culmination of everything I've learned in 25 years of practice. Morning. 1 Brazil nut. With breakfast. This delivers selenium to support testosterone production and protect your prostate. Keep a small jar next to your coffee maker so you never forget. Midday. A handful of unsalted pistachios, especially important if you feel that afternoon energy crash. They'll stabilize your blood sugar, improve circulation, and provide the arginine your body needs for optimal performance. Evening, a small handful of walnuts about an hour before bed. This supports overnight blood flow repair, reduces inflammation, and helps prepare your body for deep restorative sleep. That's it. 3 simple steps that work together to address the 3 pillars of male vitality: circulation, hormone production, and cellular energy. But let me give you the troubleshooting guide, because I've seen men make critical mistakes. If you don't see results in the first 2 weeks, check this. Are you buying unsalted nuts? Salt blocks the absorption of key minerals. Are you eating them consistently at the same times each day? Your body responds to patterns. Are you still consuming the inflammatory foods I mentioned earlier? You can't out-supplement a bad diet. If you experience digestive upset initially, start with half portions and gradually increase. If you have tree nut allergies, obviously don't attempt this protocol. If you're on blood thinners, consult your physician first, as nuts can enhance circulation. Here's what to expect. Days 13, you might notice slightly better sleep. Week 1, improved morning energy. Week 24, significant changes in drive and performance. Month 23, transformation that others will notice. Month 6 and beyond, sustained vitality that redefines what you thought possible at your age. The research confirms what I've seen in my practice. A comprehensive analysis published in the British Journal of Nutrition found that men over 60 who consumed nuts regularly experienced an 18% reduction in fatigue and measurable improvements in quality of life scores. But here's what really validates this approach. The pharmaceutical industry has spent billions trying to replicate these effects artificially. Viagra targets the same nitric oxide pathways that walnuts support naturally. Testosterone replacement tries to accomplish what Brazil nuts do through nutrition. Expensive circulation medications attempt what pistachios provide through simple daily consumption. The difference is that synthetic approaches create dependence and side effects. Natural approaches restore your body's ability to function as it was designed to. I know some of you are wondering why your doctor never mentioned this. Here's the uncomfortable truth I've witnessed firsthand. The medical education system receives massive funding from pharmaceutical companies. In medical school, we spent months learning about drug treatments and maybe hours on nutritional interventions. Marcus from Johns Hopkins tried to publish research showing that nut consumption could reduce erectile dysfunction medication usage by 60%. His paper was rejected 3 times, not for scientific reasons, for policy concerns. I know because I was his peer reviewer. The editor told him privately that the journal couldn't risk losing pharmaceutical advertising revenue. This is the medical reality we're fighting against. Every prescription you fill generates profit. Every procedure they recommend creates revenue. But teaching you to fix the problem with food? There's no money in healthy patients. I've had colleagues tell me privately, Sarah, I know the nut protocol works, but if I recommend it over medications, I'll lose hospital privileges. One cardiologist from Arizona was actually investigated by his medical board for suggesting patients try nutritional interventions before pharmaceutical ones. This is why I'm willing to risk my reputation to share this information. Because after 25 years of watching men suffer unnecessarily, I can't stay silent anymore. Before you go, I need you to understand something crucial. This information is becoming harder to share. The pressure from the medical establishment is increasing. Subscribe and hit that notification bell because they're trying to silence voices like mine. Comment truth if you're committed to taking control of your health. And please share this with someone who's been failed by the system. Your action could save their life. Remember what this is really about. Those 3 nuts aren't just snacks. They're a statement. I'm not done. I still have more to give. I deserve to feel strong in my body. You see, the real transformation isn't just physical. It's about how you start to carry yourself again, more upright, more engaged, more connected to the people you love. I've seen it happen too many times to doubt it. I've seen the spark return, shoulders lift, smiles come back, relationships deepen, not because of some miracle cure, but because a man chose to believe his life wasn't over just because a calendar said he was past 60. Your best years didn't end when you hit 60, 65, or 70. They just required a different approach. Small, consistent steps. Natural fuel your body recognizes. The wisdom to ignore the profit-driven advice that's been sabotaging your vitality. If today's message stirred something in you, if even one part spoke to that part of you that's been quiet for too long, then I invite you to begin. Start today. 1 Brazil nut with breakfast. A handful of pistachios at lunch. Walnuts in the evening. Give your body what it needs. Reclaim your strength. Remind yourself and the world that your story isn't over, it's just getting to the good part. You still have time. You still have power. You still have a man worth fighting for. Let's keep him strong.